Welcome back. The next example. Lerato and her friends are planning to buy platters for their party. The cost of platter is 600 rand. Use the table below to determine the cost of platter as the number of people increases. Remember, the cost is 600 rand. So if Lerato is alone, obviously Lerato will pay 600 rand. But as the number of people increases, people who are coming to the party, her friends increases, therefore they will share the 600 rand. So if they are two, we will say 600 rand divide by 2. Press the calculator with me. 600 divide by 2. The answer we got is 300 rand. I hope you got the correct answer. And we write our 300 rand here. And if there are 3, we will have 600 rand once more, which is divided by 3. And let's press the calculator together. 600 divided by 3, we get 200 rand. It means if there are 3, they will each contribute 200 rands. And what if there are 4? We take 600 rand, we divide it by 4. So let us divide together. 600 rand divide by 4, and each one of them should contribute 150. Finally, if there are 5 and they have to share the cost of 600 rand, we say 600 rand divide by 5. Each one of them should contribute, therefore, 120. Then we completed the 120. So we've completed this table. So one skill which is important is for you to be able to complete the table if it is given as incomplete. And then let us continue. And now as we continue, technology is messing with me, guys. Now we need to plot the graph. We've calculated the values. Now that the values are calculated, this graph has already been plotted. I'll take you through. We say if Lerato is alone, you go and check the 600 rand where the 2 points meet. 1 and 600, you put the coordinate. Secondly, 2 and 300, this is 2 and this is 300. This is the coordinate we are looking for. The third one, 3 and 200 rand. This is 3. The cost is 200 rand. This is where the 2 meet. The fourth one, if they are 4, the cost is 150. This is the point where 150 meets 4. And finally, if they are 5, then we will have 120. Because this is 100, this is 110, and the next one will be 120. If you trace it, this is the value. So now, when we plot the graph once more, you can see that the shape of a graph is a curve, mainly because we say when one variable increases, the other one will decrease. Now, let us practice what you've just learned. The first question. Tato is organizing a trip to watch a soccer match with his friends. The taxi owner charges them 90 rand per person. Complete the table to represent the cost to be shared as the number of people. Let me write here, the cost to be shared as the number of people increases. That is the first question. So now you check, because one person is charged 90 rand, what will happen? If they are 2, then we multiply by 2. So can we multiply together? It's 90 rand multiplied by 2, which gives us 180. And then now, if there are 3, remember I said it's either you can multiply or you can add 90 rand again. I want us to do the method of addition because that seems to be the easiest method that every one of us can follow. And I can see that you agree with me at home there. Okay, let us continue. Now that 2 will pay 180, if they are 3, we simply add 90 rand. And when we add 90 rand, we have 270. If there are 4, we add 90 rand again. So as we add 90 rand, that becomes 360. And if there are 5, we add 90 rand again. And that becomes 450 rand. So we've answered the first question. So what is key is to look at the context, analyze the context, and understand it. Because according to this context, you understand that if the number of people increases, obviously the cost will also be increased, because the transport cost is charged per person. So I said, once you identified that when one variable increases, the other one also increases, for you to complete the table, you can add the same amount every time as the number of people increases. Okay, the second question now. Identify the independent and the dependent variable. So now, can we start with the independent? The independent variable is the one that does not depend on the measured one. So now the dependent variable, according to the definition that I gave you at the beginning of this lesson, we said the dependent variable is the one that is measured. So now the independent will be the number of people. The number of people does not depend on the cost, but the cost depends on the number of people. So we say the independent variable will then be the number of people. And the dependent variable is the cost of transport, because the cost of transport depends on the number of people. So before you can answer this question, you must ask yourself which variable is depending on which one. The one which is depending on the other one is called the dependent variable. The one that is not depending on the other one is the independent variable. So now we say independent is going to be number of people. The dependent will be the cost of transport, because the cost of transport depends on the number of people. If there are 2, the cost will increase accordingly. Okay. So now let us continue with the plotting of the graph, as that is the third question. So now to plot the graph, we say if you have one person, we said the cost is 90 rand. 90 will be just below 100 rand. This is the point. And then if there are 2, we said the cost will be 180. If this is 150, we will say 60, 70, and 80. 80 is this line. So this is your point. And then if it's 3, we said the cost is 270. So because this is 250, we can count and say 260, and this is 270. And this is your point. And if it's 360, if it's 4, if there are 4, the cost is 360. So you have your 4, and the cost of 360 after 350, just above 350, this line, this is your cost of 360. And finally, if there are 5, the cost is 440. So this is your 5, and then the cost of 450, I'm sorry. If there are 5, the cost is 450. This is your point. So by mere fact of saying when one variable increases, the other one increases as well, we know that is direct proportion, and the line is going to be the straight line. So now we can join our points. And as you join your point, your points or your coordinates, you get the straight line. So this is the graph that we had to plot to answer the question that we had based on the number of people when the cost of transport is 90 rand per person. Let's take an ad break. I will see you right after the break.